This is KGW News at noon.
Our top story today at noon, the deadly shooting that unfolded at a nightclub in Colorado Springs. Hello, I'm Christine Pitawanich. Thank you for joining us. Within the hour, we have learned that the suspected gunman has been charged with 5 counts of murder and bias crimes. We're expecting another update from police this afternoon. For now, here's NBC's Jay Gray with the latest.
Flowers, cards, and crime scene tape now surround a place where so many gathered to feel secure and free.
That's what we built Club Q for, is to be that safe haven.
Safety shattered by a spray of gunfire.
Bodies on the ground, blood, shattered glass, people dead.
At least 5 dead, more than 24 wounded when police say 22-year-old Anderson Lee Aldrich walked inside the LGBTQ nightclub, firing into the crowd before he was wrestled to the ground.
At least 2 heroic people inside the club confronted and fought with the suspect and were able to stop the suspect from continuing to kill and harm others.
Police recovered 2 weapons immediately after the massacre. Investigators and federal agents continue to search the club, trying to figure out how and why it happened.
The motive of the crime is part of the investigation, and whether this was a hate crime is part of that investigation.
Many in this grieving community say the answer to that question is clear.
And last night they were met with hate, and they deserve better than that.
And so they gather, families, friends, survivors, to honor those lost, making sure their light continues to shine. Jay Gray, NBC News, Colorado Springs.
We've also learned the suspected shooter had a previous run-in with police. That incident could have triggered Colorado's red flag law. In June of last year, he allegedly threatened his mother with a homemade bomb. Houses nearby were evacuated while the bomb squad and crisis negotiators talked him into surrendering. But prosecutors didn't move forward with charges, and no one tried to trigger the state's red flag law. That would have allowed authorities to take weapons and ammunition from him for a minimum of 14 days. Of course, it's all unclear if it would have prevented the tragedy Saturday night, but police say the incident will be studied while they investigate the shooting. Again, we're expecting another update this afternoon, and we'll have the very latest information on our 4 p.m. newscast. Meantime, in Idaho, still a lot of unanswered questions surrounding the murder of 4 University of Idaho students. Investigators have put together a timeline of the students' final hours, but they still have no idea who the killer is. Now, parents and police are asking for the public's help. NBC's Gadi Schwartz has the latest from Moscow.
Police in Moscow still searching for a killer that has a community living in fear.
The identity of the 911 caller and the 911 call have not been released, so any information out there is speculation about that.
Police sharing more about the 911 call, but not specifying who made it. Police also looking into 7 phone calls made by victim Kaylee Gonzalez to her boyfriend around 2:26 to 2:52 a.m. But Kaylee's sister says those calls were not out of the norm.
We do not believe she was calling him for help. We believe that she was just calling him to come over. If Kaylee was in imminent danger, her or Maddie, they would have called 911. They would not have been calling this person.
So far, police ruling out several people seen near the victims the night they were stabbed to death, some possibly while they slept. Authorities now say they do not consider the man seen in this video from a food truck a suspect and have also ruled out a rideshare driver.
Meanwhile, police are asking for the public's help, issuing a 1 square mile dragnet, asking for any video from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. They are trying to establish how the killer made it into this house and out of the house. But crime here in Moscow has been rare. This is a city where some people don't lock their doors. It's a place that hasn't seen a murder in 7 years, and there are very few cameras in this area.
And as the investigation enters its 2nd week, family members now posting flyers hoping for more leads.
Again, that was NBC's Gadi Schwartz reporting. Closer to home, police are looking into a shooting in North Portland Saturday night that injured a 17-year-old girl. We're not sure how she's doing right now, but we know that she was taken to a hospital. This is video from the scene along North Greeley Avenue near Ainsworth Street. This is where police found her around 8 p.m., but they think the shooting happened somewhere else. This is the third shooting involving teenagers since last Monday in the city. So far, no arrests have been made in any of the shootings. And a deadly shooting unfolded Saturday night near PDX. Details at this point scarce, but here's what we know so far. It happened at the Embassy Suites. One person was shot and killed just after 9:30 Saturday night. Investigators say somewhere between 1 to 3 suspects just took off. And the East County Major Crimes Team right now is continuing their investigation. Here in Oregon, voters just passed Measure 114, the state's new strict gun law. And as Alma McCarty reports, opponents have already filed a federal lawsuit urging a judge to declare the law unconstitutional.
Since Election Day, gun sales in Oregon have soared, and sheriffs in some communities have voiced opposition to Measure 114, which narrowly passed with nearly 51% of the vote. The new gun law requires a 5-year permit, firearms training, and a federal background check to purchase a gun. It also bans the sale of magazines holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition.
This is about public safety, safe schools, safe communities, and it's been proven to save lives.
Now, Measure 114 faces another hurdle. Late Friday, the Oregon Firearm Federation, the Sherman County Sheriff, and a Marion County gun store owner filed a lawsuit against Governor Kate Brown and the state's Attorney General, specifically taking issue with the magazine ban. In the suit, they claim millions of law-abiding Americans own firearms equipped with this technology, calling them standard-issue magazines, not large capacity. Plaintiffs say the ban violates their Second Amendment rights and the right to due process. The lawyer representing the gun rights group writes, banning magazines over 10 rounds is no more likely to reduce criminal abuse of guns than banning high-horsepower engines is likely to reduce criminal abuse of automobiles, and that the only thing the ban contained in 114 ensures is that a criminal unlawfully carrying a firearm with a magazine over 10 rounds will have a potentially devastating advantage over his law-abiding victim. But Reverend Dr. Mark Knutson with Lift Every Voice Oregon, the group behind the ballot measure, disputes the assertion that 114 infringes on the constitutional rights of Oregonians.
Those who already have them, it already says that if they would keep them, they could use them on their property or at shooting ranges. So nobody's taking away anybody's guns or their magazines.
He said in drafting the measure, the Interfaith Coalition worked with gun owners, hunters, and law enforcement to make the law equitable, reasonable, and just.
51% may have passed this, but I could see 70% in a year and a half saying this makes all the sense in the world, and that number will grow over time because we will see a real difference.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
We're also tracking this fire out of Grass Valley in Sherman County. It broke out at a hemp plant and forced evacuations on Sunday. We're still waiting to hear if people are going to be able to return home soon. Authorities are still worried about possible explosions. Fire officials did some thermal imaging. There you see it on your screen because there was just such thick fog in the area at the time. Deputies reported small explosions and 5 employees suffered burns. Highway 97 was also shut down, but it reopened last night. At this point, investigators don't know what caused the fire. And despite it being pretty late in the season, multiple counties are now issuing burn bans. Officials say outdoor burns are responsible for starting multiple brush fires. The ban impacts Clackamas, Yamhill, and Multnomah counties. It'll remain in place until weather patterns change. And good news here is that Rod Hill is saying those east winds starting to die down, hopefully tomorrow. And speaking of Rod, here he is. Rod, can you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, there's a pretty good cold front coming in tomorrow, Christine. It will do a couple of things. Number one, it'll give us, all of a sudden, we need some rain. We had that wet start to November, but it's been bone dry for a while, as you know. We'll get some decent widespread rain tomorrow. And also the front will be strong enough to make its way through the gorge, and that will completely end the east winds as the wind pattern will veer more to the southwest. And while there won't be a lot of rain in the next several days to follow, we will have some rain to start next week, it looks like. Kind of on the same story that Christine just finished with the wildfire smoke in the air to some degree. We've had air stagnation advisories posted away from the gorge outflow areas for the last several days. Air quality mostly a mix of yellow is moderate and green is good, and a few spots where it's a little worse than that. So perhaps this has been something you've been dealing with. We think the air quality numbers will improve once that front comes in tomorrow afternoon. Here is that front. More on tomorrow's timeline and how much rain it will bring to us coming up, but you can't see very well on the pictures the fact that we do have some cloudiness in the area. Now, Cannon Beach, one of the sunnier views, that was live. Here's Willamette Valley Vineyards just south of Salem. Kind of a thin mid-cloud deck, a little hazy looking outside, more of an overcast in downtown Portland right now. We're only at 44. High temperatures today may or may not get up to 50. Again, we'll break down tomorrow's incoming needed rain in just a moment.